I made some key financial mistakes in my 20s that over time I had to fix. And I'm confident that if you watch and you listen to what I'm saying in this video, that it'll help you to make the best out of your 20s so you can have a better time in your 30s. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about the best purchases to make in your 20s. The first is some kind of training for a new skill. Now I know you've seen this before and it sounds very cliche, but it's honestly the truth. I feel like your 20s is the best time for you to spend some kind of money to invest in training, to learn some kind of skill to increase your income. And the reason why is because in your 20s you have a very particular advantage. This is the first time in your life to where you probably have a little more freedom, but then you probably are working at the same time as well. And you most likely don't have a ton of responsibilities. So instead of going out partying and spending your money on frivolous things, it's better to use that money to pay for some kind of training to increase your skill set. When I was 28, I started to learn coding because I wasn't happy with my career at the time. I was working in account management and I didn't have a lot of money at all. So I started to learn how to code because I wanted to make a career change. I did use a lot of free resources, but then I also used some paid resources as well that were pretty helpful. And the reason why they were helpful was because it gave me a plan and it gave me a strategy on what to follow so I could learn in a very efficient way. These days you can learn how to do anything on the internet, but what you're paying for is somebody to put a plan together for you, something that you can follow step by step, and that shortens the learning curve. So you end up not having to search all over the internet and trying all these different ways of learning a certain skill. You know exactly what you need to do day by day. And this doesn't necessarily have to be for a career change. If you want to invest in some kind of training to learn how to start a side hustle or a side business, there's many different ways that you can increase your skill set to try to make more income. So you know the saying, the best investment is an investment in yourself. So don't be afraid and don't be hesitant to pay for some kind of training. The next thing is paying off your debt. There's no way around this. Honestly, paying off your debt will change your life. It will change your finances and it will change how you approach your finances in the future. I graduated from school with almost $60,000 in debt, and I didn't take it seriously until I started to feel like my bills were suffocating me every month. I had my utility bills and I had all of my debt payments at the same time. And once I started taking debt seriously, I was able to pay it off, and after that point, my life was completely different. The amount of flexibility and freedom I had in my finances was like nothing I had had before. I no longer had to feel bad about doing something nice for myself or for some people around me because I didn't owe any money to anyone. I could do what I wanted to do. But most importantly, that money that was going to debt payments was now being used to save money for bigger goals, to invest into myself in some kind of way, or to invest into the stock market. So if you're in your 20s, take that seriously. I know it's very hard and you feel like you have the rest of your life ahead of you, but I can promise you, if you get rid of your debt in your 20s, you'll be very happy that you did. The next is a used car. Don't make the mistake of getting a new car. I see it all the time. People that graduate from school and they go get the most expensive car that they can because they see their friends doing the same thing. They get the new Benz or the new BMW and they have this high car payment, and then they go get an expensive apartment. It's not a good strategy to get ahead. Instead of getting a used car that's very reliable and not really expensive like a Toyota or a Honda that you can pay off quickly and it can be yours and you don't have to worry about car payments anymore. But the key is to get a reliable car. I did buy a used car in my 20s, but it ended up being one of the worst decisions ever. I remember that Nissan Altima like yesterday. That thing gave me so many trouble. I started spending so much money on repairs. That plan didn't work out for me. Get something that's very reliable. Make sure you get it checked out well. There's no point in competing with friends or people around you that are getting these nice cars, because in the end, you'll be the one with the better finances. The next is opening up some kind of investment account, whether that be a brokerage or a Roth. Now, the investment strategy will still be the same. You will want to make these investments and make contributions to this account on a regular basis. Now, the difference between a brokerage and a Roth is really depends on how long you're going to need that money or how long you expect that money to be in the market. For a Roth, you won't be able to take that money out until you're 59 and a half. For a brokerage, you can take it out whenever you want, but you will be taxed. The benefit of the Roth is that if you take it out after 59 and a half, you don't get taxed on that money. But for the brokerage account, you do have the flexibility of withdrawing that money if you would happen to need it for something, but the taxes will be a big pain point for you. But I don't want to go into too much detail about the difference in the accounts. The main reason why I'm mentioning this is because you want to get into the habit of investing regularly. You want to create this habit because as time moves on, it'll become second nature to you, and you will stop worrying about your accounts and looking at the balance every day, and you'll realize that all that compounding money that you started in your 20s is looking pretty nice in your 30s. Even if you can only deposit $50 a month, that's fine. Just deposit whatever you can to get into that routine. But in my opinion, I wouldn't really focus on on the investing until you get out of any of your debts that you may have. One thing is that you don't want your money to be spread out in all these different ways, from paying bills to paying debt and trying to invest and do all these things at once, and you're not really being effective in anything. And the second is, if you do get rid of your debt, now you have even more money at your disposal that you can use to invest into these accounts. The next is some type of apartment or a home that you can have a roommate with. Housing is by far one of the biggest expenses that we have, and a lot of my debt actually from college was because of housing. But if I had the opportunities to have a roommate for longer, even after I graduated from college, I would have taken advantage of it. But the key to having a roommate is having open communication. You have to know how you're going to split up your bills, who's going to be responsible for different things within the apartment or the home, how you're going to clean. Like, all of this stuff is really important. The next thing is being very careful about who you choose to be a roommate with. I remember when I was talking to my mom about having a roommate, and she would always tell me, try not to be roommates with your friends. And at the time I didn't understand. I'm thinking, why wouldn't I want to be roommates with my friends? I know these people. But she ended up being right. I ended up losing some friends because of being roommates. Because honestly, you don't know somebody as well as you think you do until you live with that person. So be careful about the roommate, but definitely look into it so you can save some money. The next is a good membership that's close to where you live. If you haven't been active before, starting in your 20s is probably the best time to do this, before you start having a lot of responsibilities and long work hours. I see a lot of people take their health for granted in their 20s because you're young. You typically don't have a lot of health issues. Your body still feels really good. But then as you start to get older, all of the time that you took for granted, for not being active in your 20s, it starts to catch up with you. I'm a big believer in fitness. The gym has been one of the main things that has changed my life and my health forever, really. But it's not just for physical reasons, it's also for mental reasons. Working out helps to clear your head, it helps to keep you balanced, helps to keep you disciplined. You learn a lot from doing that. There's no point in working so hard to have money and to have success if you're unhealthy, because you won't be able to enjoy that money. So while you're focused on success and focused on making money, focus on your body at the same time. The next is using some money to start some kind of side hustle. Building a side hustle early is a great idea, similar to starting an investment account when you're early. The reason why is because anytime you start a side hustle or some kind of small business, it takes time to build up your clients. It takes time to start making money. And the sooner that you start, the sooner that you'll have the opportunity to start making some money. Just look at this story from Side Hustle Nation about these two guys and their window cleaning business. They went from nothing to almost $1 million in revenue. If you're not interested in manual labor, that's fine too, because there's many options online. You have drop shipping, you have eBay and reselling, you have Amazon, FBA. There are many different options that you have to start in some kind of side hustle, even a YouTube channel. But if you do want to get into some kind of business, in my opinion, I feel like starting to resell on eBay has the shortest learning curve, and it's something that you can honestly get started on today. This has been one of my favorite side hustles to start and grow, and sometimes I wish I would have known about it a lot sooner than I did, but I've been doing it for 5 years, and it has been one of the main things that has changed my finances the most. So if you're interested in a more detailed breakdown of how to get started on reselling, then you can watch this next video. If you like this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.